Greenberg. I'm an executive coach. I'm also the co-author of this best-selling book, Profit from the Positive, with my co-author, Senya Wyman. And today we're going to focus in on a coaching tool called the Wheel of Life, which some of you might be familiar with. And with us today is also Mia Chernick, who is an associate of the Greenberg Group. And Mia is also a learning and development professional for one of the world's largest hotel chains, where she's responsible for about 18,000 employees. So Mia, I'm going to turn it over to you to just do a few housekeeping items, and then we'll get started.
Great, thanks, Margaret, and good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. Today, we're happy to have you here on our Dose of Positivity, our final session of this series. So thanks for being here. A couple housekeeping notes. We will be using the chat box significantly throughout our short time together today. So glad that you've gotten familiar with it so far. We will be prompting you to respond in there to our questions as we go. And I do want to share that we're recording this session, and we'll also be sending out the slides after the session, so you'll have access to everything that we covered today. So no need to scribble down every single note. Margaret, I will pass it back to you to get us started.
All right, thanks, Mia. So for those of you that have joined us in the past, you know, we always like to start with a centering exercise, because chances are you've just come off of another maybe Zoom call or something else, and you just have to get yourself present. And you might be familiar with this notion of absent presence, where we're physically present, in this case virtually present, but mentally absent. So I'm just going to introduce you to a quick breathing exercise that you can do anytime, any place. You may close your eyes if you like. And I want you to begin by just focusing your awareness on your breath. Just breathing in and breathing out. And I'm going to introduce you to this 4-7-8 technique, which is a great de-stressor and a way to get yourself focused when you need to really switch gears. So you're going to breathe in on 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to hold it for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you're going to slowly release on 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let's do 2 more of those silently. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and we'll begin. Okay, all right, let's begin then with a quick poll. And this is an anonymous poll, so I encourage all of you to participate. And the question is this: how has COVID-19 impacted you? You have 3 choices. One is, my personal situation has not changed as a result of the pandemic. Or perhaps my daily routine has changed, but I've escaped the worst of it. And then lastly, the pandemic has had an extremely disruptive impact on my life. Maybe you've had a serious illness or a death of a friend or family member, maybe a job or a business loss. So just take a moment, again, it's anonymous, and just identify which one of these 3 choices best fits you.
Margaret, we're waiting on one more response. We'll see, we'll give a couple more seconds.
Okay.
There we go. I am going to go ahead and share these results.
Great. Okay, so the daily routine has changed, but I've escaped the worst of it. So what I'm hearing here is that we have a lot of people that experience gratitude. They realize, yes, they've been impacted, but compared to others, they're quite grateful that it's not worse than it is. So thank you. And I want you to keep this in mind as we do the Wheel of Life today. So let's go to that slide, Mia. This is a coaching exercise that I use with every coaching client. And it's something that I learned when I went through the Coaches Training Institute back in 2003. And it's still a relevant exercise. And we're going to be going through this from both the perspective of pre-COVID-19. What was your wheel of life like pre-COVID-19 and then today? And what I want you to keep in mind is that this is a snapshot in time. And that's why if you've done it in the past, as I know at least one person has on this webinar today, it's a snapshot in time. So today may look very different than perhaps when you did this 6 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago. It can look quite differently. So it's a snapshot in time. And for each one of these slices of your life, I'm going to ask you on a scale of 0 to 10, how satisfied or fulfilled are you on that particular slice of your life? So right now, I'd like you to draw a circle, get out a piece of paper, anything will do, and just draw a circle. And then I want you to divide that circle into 8 slices, just like you see here. 8 slices of the pie. And I'll walk us through each one of these. Now, of course, we're going to do this in record time. Typically, a Wheel of Life discussion, can take upwards to an hour. We're going to do this in record time, but it's to give you a start. And that means after today, I would encourage you all to reflect even more on your life. And this is just a way to get it started. Okay, so everybody has their wheel. All right, so let's start. Let's start with career. And I'm going to ask you on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is in the center, 10 is out at the periphery. I want you to place a dot where you believe you are pre-COVID. What was your career like pre-COVID? And just put a little dot, and I take a swag, you know what a swag, a scientific wild ass guess at the number. So in this case, this sample that we're using, they gave a career pre-COVID a 7, okay? 7 out of 10 in terms of how satisfied or fulfilled. Now let's go to the next one, health. Again, on a scale of 0 to 10, this is about your physical, emotional, mental, health. What would you give it pre-COVID on a scale of 0 to 10? Again, place a little dot where you think that is. Now, the next one is spouse or romance. What would you give that pre-COVID? This person here that we're using is a 7, gave romance, or for those that are married, their spouse or partner. Family and friends. What might you give that pre-COVID? How satisfied? Some clients have told me they actually prefer to divide that wedge into 2 different slices because family and friends sometimes are so different. So feel free to do that if you like. This is just a guide. But how satisfied are you with family and friends pre-COVID? Let's go next to finances. Again, these are your personal finances, 0 to 10. That can be anything from your compensation to your savings, to how debt-free you are, how much financial independence you have. Somebody asked me once, is it a 10 if I win the lottery? That's up to you to decide. The next one is physical environment. Physical environment is where in the world you live, work, and play. What would you give that? Again, pre-COVID. Again, this person gave it a 5. And then finally, fun and recreation. 2 more. Fun and recreation. Pre-COVID, what did you do for fun? Did you go to the movies? Did you golf, fish, ski, hike, bike, read, whatever it might be that you do for fun and recreation? And then lastly, personal growth or spirituality. What is it pre-COVID? How satisfied were you with this slice of your life? It could be, think of a webinar like this, a coaching webinar, that would be considered personal growth. Personal growth can also be, you know, returning to school or reading, your spirituality, where it's something larger than yourself. Even what you might do in your community can be considered in this wedge. So this person here gave it a 4 pre-COVID. Now what I'd like you to do is I want you to connect your dots. Just connect them. So notice the wheel now for this sample is a little bumpy. It's a little jagged in spots, okay? Yours might look similar or it might look quite different. And the goal here isn't to have your wheel be a 10 in every aspect of your life. It is simply a snapshot in time, and the goal is not to have it a 10. That's not how life is typically, but just an accurate reflection of how you perceive your life. So now let's go to today. Let's compare what your life is now. And go ahead, use that same sheet of paper. If you can use a different colored marker or pen, that might be helpful. So you can actually show which one was pre-COVID and which one is today. And let's do the same thing. Let's go through career today. I know, you know, many friends and colleagues whose businesses have been negatively impacted or have lost their job or furloughed. Others, their career is booming. They happen to be in a profession that is actually positively impacted by COVID. But go ahead, what is it today for you? And then again, health. Oh, another one on health, I always like people to consider. We often consider, you know, our exercise, how healthy we eat. One area that people often forget about is sleep. How's your sleep? How updated are you on your physicals, which now may be impacted? I know all of mine got canceled, everything from dental to eye to your annual physical. So health, your spouse and romance, you might be spending even more time with your spouse, or you might not be dating at all if you're dating. Again, work your way around the wheel. I'll give you a moment to finish that for today. And then again, just like you did before, I want you to connect your dots for your current perspective. And so it might look something like this, right? Pre-COVID, and then today. So now we have a few questions to pose for you to really make some interesting insights or connections. And the first is this: how smooth are your wheels? Are they pretty round, or are they somewhat jagged? And go ahead, if you would, reply to that question in the chat box. Okay, Mia, do we have anything coming in yet?
Not yet, Margaret. Not yet.
Okay.
I know that I did my wheels, and they are quite jagged. I would not call them smooth. So I definitely have my dips and peaks here and there.
Did anything go significantly up or down between the pre-COVID and then the current perspective?
For me, yes. My fun and recreation went down significantly today versus pre-COVID. That was a big one for me.
Okay. And again, because you're quarantined?
Yeah, I would say
Beaches aren't
so.
open.
Exactly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just me, my boyfriend, our new puppy, which I guess has added some fun and recreation. But, we're used to, going to the beach, hiking a lot, taking trips, spending time with friends, and we really haven't been able to do that at all. We saw friends for the first time 2 weeks ago.
All right, thank you, Mia. It looks like Avra said, I've actually had some areas of life improve. I haven't had significant drops, but a couple of the areas that were lacking before are still a problem. So Avra, I would love to know which ones had improved. That's interesting. For me, unlike Mia, my fun and recreation improved because I'm up here on a lake, which there's lots of recreation to do, even though I'm not doing it with other people. There's still a lot to do compared to pre-COVID.
Should I talk?
So I'd love to hear that. And anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
Somehow all I see now is my own face. It's changed. Before, let me. Okay, maybe that's better.
That's okay. That's because you're speaking.
All right. I made sure to I started with 5,000 steps and I quickly got it up to 7 and now it's at 8. So I've been doing 8,000 steps a day when I hadn't been doing that before. I was really now looking forward to going out when it's not crowded. I live across the street from a park. And so I've prioritized that to make sure that gets done every day. So I'm actually more consistent in my exercise.
Excellent. I'm really glad to hear that. Okay, let's go to the next question, Mia. And again, I'd encourage you, to share what's coming up for you. How do your pre-COVID and your today wheels compare?
Celeste shared, or I believe that's Sammy, my career and finances have drastically improved. That's great.
Okay. And there could be people on this call that it is just the opposite, right? So I hope what this is showing is, what you're experiencing is not necessarily the same as what others around you are experiencing. Again, both positive and negative. Okay, great, Celeste, thank you. Let's go to the next question. I want to be sensitive to time and give enough time for questions too. Oh, Salvador said the balance is positive. I improved. And Salvador, I know he's in the Masters of Positive Leadership down at Universidad Tecnolenio, and I know that's such a supportive group of people to be learning with at this time, just like I was in a learning community with Lauren. So that's really cool that you have that too, Salvador. All right, let's go to the next question, which is, what connections do you see between the different slices of your life? I'll give you an example. I've had clients, that are executives who career is at a 9, but their family and friends are at a 2, that they find very little time that they devote to family and friends. And when they do their wheel, they're like, wow, I need to take some action on that. So seeing connections between different parts of your life, or seeing interdependencies is another way to think about it. So what do you notice about the different slices? And again, just put that in the chat box if you would.
Margaret, while we're waiting, I'll share something that, now that we're talking about it, I'm looking, and an interesting connection I'm seeing is between my physical environment and health. Both increased today versus pre-COVID. And I used to travel frequently for work, and it wore on me a lot. I got sick frequently. I was working longer hours, and I love being home more. And so that's just an interesting connection I found.
Yeah, so for some people, being home more is this gift, while for others, being home more creates all sorts of angst and stress. So again, so many differences.
And ever shared, I notice that the ones where I can rely on myself are fine, but the ones where I need other people are lacking, since she can't socialize in person.
Okay, great. Yeah, I've early on, we were doing a lot of virtual happy hours, virtual coffee hours. We had a couple of virtual birthday parties. And even after some of those, like, okay, you're on Zoom all day. And now, okay, the last thing I feel like doing is getting on a Zoom call at night to have a happy hour or chat with a friend. So I know a lot of this has gone, like a roller coaster over this period of time. What does Betsy say? While I have excellent health pre-COVID and post-COVID, the sleep time dramatically improved in COVID because of virtual learning for our high schooler eliminated us having to get up and out at 6 a.m. That's a great win, Betsy. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, getting those teenagers out of bed at that hour. I remember what that was like. Okay. One other, or actually I think one other question here is, what do you want to focus on to improve your overall well-being? If you had to choose just something, one slice, what would you want to focus on? Could be something that's already high and you want to keep it that way. It could be something that's somewhat low that you really want to improve and be what I call intentional about it. And then that leads us to the last question. This is something that if you've been on other webinars, we know we always like people to focus in on some small actions, something that they can take away today and do today to create your best life. So just one small action as a result of you examining your wheel of life today that could really have a positive impact on your overall life. So again, just take a moment, put that in the chat.
So Betsy shared, keep the personal growth going. In the past, I've always been the teacher, and it is fun to learn again.
Yeah, that's excellent, Betsy. I think that's one of the reasons why I loved the certificate program I just went through, because I got to be the participant, the learner for a change. That's really fun. Great. Ava, I want to bump up my walk to 9,000. Okay, so I can get more outdoor time. Great. So up it in small increments rather than saying I'm going to walk 20,000 steps today. So excellent. Okay, anybody else a practice that they'd like to share? Salvador, take salsa lessons in painting. Nice. Can you do salsa lessons even online? Go Salvador.
Yes,
Lauren said,
it, but it's not the same.
Yeah, of course.
Because you don't have to practice.
Right.
Lauren shared that she wants to schedule a weekly hike. Love that.
Yeah, like get it on the scale. You want to or you will? She will. She just scheduled it. Yes. Okay. And Lauren lives in a beautiful part of the world in Colorado, and why not, right? Get out into nature. I mean, it's been shown to reduce our stress, improve our overall well-being. So get outside and enjoy that beautiful part of the country. Cool. All right. Well, with that, let's just go. We've got a couple while we wait for any questions to come in. Mia, if we can go to the next slide just to wrap up. We say, if you like our dose of positivity, this is our last one. We've been offering them twice a week since March 20th. And we start next week our 9th cohort of our Profit from the Positive Certificate program, where you get all 31 tools and actually can train other people in the program. And Betsy's one of our certified practitioners. And this, to respond to COVID-19, we decided we would do it in half the time instead of 10 weeks, 5 weeks, meeting twice a week, and at half the cost, just to be sensitive to people's financial situation. So you can, Mia will send out the information afterwards. I don't want to bore you with details, but if it's something you're considering, we'd love to have you. And in terms of connecting with us afterwards, again, these will be in the notes that Mia sends out, so don't feel like you have to scribble all this down. But here's how you can stay connected with us via Facebook, LinkedIn, email, etc. And you'll have all this when she sends out the recording and the PowerPoint slides. So with that, let's go back to the Q&A and just see what other questions might people have about their wheel of life or about anything that we talked about today. And again, you can take yourself off mute or just type your question into the chat box, whichever you prefer. I know we're just after the half hour, but we can stay on a couple extra minutes if anybody has any questions.
I have a question, Margaret.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, and this may be more of a coaching question, but I'm curious why you're interested in the wheel being smooth. Because if you had all 3s, for example, and the wheel was smooth, you wouldn't be in a place that you want to be in. Is it really just another way to point out differences in different areas of your life?
Exactly. It's not meant to be smooth. It's not meant to be all 10s. It's not meant to be all 3s, right? That's not life, right? We have peaks and valleys at different parts of our life, but oftentimes people will think, oh, I should have everything out of 10. I should have a nice smooth wheel, right? So we talk about wheels being bumpy or smooth. Now, bumps in the road can create some interest, right? Some excitement, rather than this kind of, like you say, if we were all 3s, it'd be kind of might be somewhat boring. So yeah, the objective is not to have it smooth at all. Do you use something similar, Lauren, in your coaching?
You're still on mute,
Oh, you're
Lauren.
on mute.
Sorry, apparently when the chat box is up, you can't use the space bar. I do use something like this. I have people do an assessment. I do it 2 different ways. I do it this way across all different areas of people's lives, but I just really do it as a list. I don't lay it out as a wheel. And I also do check-ins across like mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health that I do a whole thing with. So a little bit of a shift on this, but just across like 4 core areas of being. But I've seen it. I've seen other coaches talk about it as a wheel, and the wheel analogy just like never worked for me because I want a smooth wheel. There's like a piece of my brain that just wants a wheel to be smooth. So I was presented, and I haven't laid it out that way because of that. That's my own little hurdle.
Yeah, and that's fine. What I am hearing though is you know, I know you do executive coaching, and yet you recognize that we're more than our career. We're all whole people, right? And so even though we may go into an organization and you're going in to coach that exec, you're going to be coaching that whole person. And in whatever tool you use, it gives them context on how all these different parts of their life fit together.
Yeah.
So that
And
whatever
it
you
is a
use,
powerful tool.
it
I
could be the
I
wheel, it
can
could be
sense that.
something else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
There's something,
Okay.
I'll put it in the
Anything else?
chat. I don't know if this was
Mhm.
discussed because I missed the beginning of this meeting, but well, I'll just text it right now. Let's see.
Okay. And what else do we have, Mia, in the chat box? Anything?
Yeah, we do. I'll start with Harmony. She did ask a question. Well, she stated that her scores are pretty smooth. So funny that Lauren should ask that. But she asked, what tools should I use to improve my motivation, to improve my life, instead of just being happy that everything's okay or so-so?
So motivation is an interesting thing. You know, there's intrinsic motivation where we're intrinsically motivated. We don't need any external reward. And that's the most powerful form of motivation. So when we can link something, a goal, something we want to accomplish to something larger than ourselves, and or link it back to our strengths, those are two ways to actually increase our intrinsic motivation: strengths and seeing your goal or your work as something larger than yourself and in contributing in some bigger way. What else did we have here?
Yes.
Ava said, I
Yeah,
think
so
yeah, go ahead, Mia.
I can just summarize it for you if you'd like, Margaret, but it's a really good point. So she shared that because of the negative sides of the pandemic, with all the deaths and the sacrifices made by the medical profession, there's a veil over people saying they're enjoying things that are positive or, you know, succeeding with things. So she's had some good things happen, but feels like she has to keep it to herself, partially guilty that things are going well. She's seen people criticizing others online, you know, for having those good things happen.
Yeah, Ava, you bring up a really good point, and I think one of the bad raps of positive psychology, which you know is my background, is that people often think it's about just being positive and happy all the time, and it's not. It's about the research behind what brings people fulfillment, what brings people meaning and joy in life, and you know, what if we studied the bright side? But what we do know is that when we focus so much on the negative and are not grateful for what we have today, we go into a downward spiral. So I encourage people. I've seen it happen in my own life where, you know, people in my life, my own circle, you know, have gone down into a negative spiral and are really hard to focus in on like one good thing every day, something that you're grateful for. But I will say you'll be healthier for it if you can, and find a few people in your tribe where you're able to share those good things and able to share the things that you're grateful for. And at the very minimum, journal about those things that you're grateful for and happy about. I am so grateful that I have my eldest daughter here because she's, you know, unable to go into her office. When would I ever have this time with an adult child, day in and day out like I have right now? So I'm very grateful for that. So you bring up an excellent point. I've seen a lot of that backlash as well. Other thoughts from people around Ava's observation? I mean, that's very insightful. There's something in psychology called the peak end rule, and that we tend to remember the peak and we'll remember the end. And so when I'm on phone calls with friends, family, you know, we might be talking, but we just lost actually somebody extended family today to COVID-19. And, you know, ending a call with, you know, what's one bright spot that you remember about her? So again, rather than it all being focused on, oh my God, she died of COVID-19, you know, what's one of your favorite memories of her? Again, trying to, you know, end on a note of gratitude and appreciation rather than just despair. What did Barbara said? Journaling our thoughts at the moment is a very good suggestion. Yeah, I'm a big journaler. And someday, 100 years from now, your great grandchildren may see that journal in what life was like during this pandemic we had of, you know, 2020. And Salvador says, good reflection. So thank you, Avra, for raising that. All right, I think Mia, we're really have gone over now, but I want to thank everybody for spending part of their afternoon or morning or evening with us, and I hope our paths continue to cross. And stay healthy, stay positive as you can. You'll be happy that you did.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.